This is being broadcast live at the RMLD's office at 230 Ash Street, Reading, Massachusetts. Live broadcasts are available only in Reading due to technology constraints. This meeting is videotaped for distribution to the community TV stations in North Reading, Wilmington, and Linfield. The RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda as well as on items not on the official agenda. We ask that all questions or comments from the public be directed to the chair and that all parties, including members of RMLD board, act in a professional and courteous manner when addressing the board or responding to comments. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It is the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. I would just like to introduce some, first of all, acknowledge that we accepted the resignation today of Bob Soley, a longtime commissioner, and Bob has moved out of the community, and we thank him for his years of service. And we will be looking for, and the selectmen looking for applications for a replacement. I would also like to recognize CAB Representative Dennis Kelly. We have Craig Murray from the FinCom.
No. Dennis?
What'd I do?
Okay, sorry, my fault.
Bill Brown.
Yep.
And Chris Pollard from Rubin and Rudman. John Stempek will be board secretary tonight. So,
Colleen is not here.
oh, and last but not least, Colleen O'Brien literally in the last few minutes had a family medical emergency, and during our policy committee meeting, she literally had to run out to deal with a breaking family medical emergency, literally. So we hope that everybody is okay in Colleen's family.
Playing the role of the general manager tonight is Hamid.
Yes, and Hamid will serve in that role and will speak for Colleen. So the first item on our agenda is some discussion of a town meeting warrant, Article 14. I did reach out to the selectmen and ask them to come and speak to us and have a conversation. The article is, we didn't know that this was being put on the warrant. We've had a lot of conversations with them, but this was a surprise, so I invited them to come. They're not here. John Arena did email me earlier that he couldn't make it. I think before any of us say something, I'm very happy that Craig is here because the warrant article requests that FinCom investigate the department. So, Craig, if you're open to coming up and we can talk to you, please sit up here and take the microphone. Yeah, and I might start with just a couple of comments to frame the discussion, and then ask you a couple things. Tonight we expect to be voting on a new equipment disposal policy that will greatly tighten any future disposal of equipment. A policy that was in place for a decade and probably a lot more than that allowed equipment, including trucks, to be offered for free to town managers and to DPW managers. And then if they didn't want them, it provided that an ad be placed in just the local newspaper once and that it go to the lowest bidder. After that, there's the discretion of a middle manager to award the bid. As you all know by now, in April, 3 trucks were attempted to be disposed of in this way. The 4 town managers, the 4 DPW managers didn't want them. They went to bid, and then an employee put in some very low bids, and he won. And it was awarded by a middle management layer. There's a lot of problems with that. It seems apparent to me that the number was low. Not a lot was done to, make sure that we appraise them. But the fact of the matter is, once it came to our attention, this very strong action was taken to resolve it. We actually got the trucks back. There was a huge amount of work done. We immediately started reforming our policies, which could have been done for 10 or 20 years here by former boards, or including some of us, including me. But it's getting done, tonight. So, we've done, we're a self-governing body, and we've done all we can, including cooperating with the town accountant, who we worked with extensively. Everything she asked for, we gave her, and we're a public agency, and those records are available to you. They're available to the town accountant. They're available to anybody who comes in and asks for them. So already it seems to me that FinCom has the ability, should you want to ask us anything, and we'll work with you as we work with Sharon Ekstrom. So with that preamble, did I adequately cover the basic synopsis?
I think just
Yeah.
Dave, I think you said it, but make sure it was heard. So the reality is there was no violation of policy. We had a policy that was overdue for revamping.
Yeah.
And
Right.
based on this occurrence, we've done that, and I think that the evidence will be presented.
That's true. You know, that is true with, with the one caveat that we don't have to accept a bid. And if it's very low, we didn't have to accept it. So there's one place where I think we can own up to. At the middle management layer, we could have said, maybe we can look at getting more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So we've corrected it. I think what's important is when something happens, you see how quickly you take action to make sure everything's drum tight. I hope we do that tonight. So with that long preamble, please tell me, what's your interest and what's the article about?
The town manager brought the finance committee up to speed with this issue back in, I believe it was in July.
Yep.
At a recent meeting, which I think occurred a week or two ago, we were brought, this matter with the town warrant was brought to our attention, and we were asked to vote on Article 14 and Article 15, and they were passed by the Finance Committee.
Okay.
So they will go on the warrant. I don't know a lot of the behind the scenes. All been filled in by the town manager. That's all I know. I've read what I've read in the papers.
Sure.
I've heard some stories, but that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, can I comment?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I guess my reaction to that is it would have been helpful for me as a commissioner to have had the opportunity to have a discussion prior to something going
Right.
on.
Yes.
A warrant.
Right.
We met in July with the chair of the selectmen and one or two other towns representatives, and we
Right.
thought had a very healthy and productive discussion about what needed improvement, and I left feeling very positive that we had some good collaboration. But between that moment and now to see it on the town warrant is a little troublesome, just in terms of the sense of collaboration in terms of resolving it, because I concur with Dave's comments. I mean, we were on schedule to review all of the policies, at which we also indicated, and are all available on the website, which we pointed out to the town representative. So it just my 2 cents is I think the theme here needs to be collaboration, not confrontation, and
Sure.
I apply that to my own business that I am involved in, as well as to the other boards that I am part of.
Just to echo a little bit on that too. The first time I saw this is actually when it made the warrant. I know as a former finance committee chairman myself, way back in the dark ages, whenever something was discussed in front of the finance committee, when I was chairman, I always made sure that the people who were going to be discussed about knew about it and got invited.
Right.
And I also, being the former chairman for life of the bylaw committee, I also had that. I was chairman for life of the bylaw committee for 27 years. And, to suddenly not even, and the selectmen have also not come down here, anybody's come down here and even spoken to us about this.
Right.
This is the first time we're seeing it, is when it's in the warrant. Communication and collaboration on this has not been good. It would have been nice. Again, I was at that meeting that Tom was at that Thursday meeting, and I thought we had a pretty good session, and okay, we realize there's changes to be made, and we've made changes. So.
I'd like to make a comment as well. And I was also at that meeting, and I thought we had a great dialogue, and we all
Is this the
agreed.
policy committee meeting?
Yes.
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 John and Sharon there?
John Arena and Sharon Angstrom, correct. And I felt exactly the same way. So that we were making progress. We're going to address all these different issues. And many of the Board of Selectmen over time have sat over here with us as well.
Sure.
And they've been here, and yet the same policies were in place. So we're all kind of tarred the same way. The thing that was troubling to me about the September 2nd meeting of the Selectmen was the use of the word investigation. It was used 12 times in 12 minutes. And investigation, to my ears, sounds like something, there was wrongdoing that occurred, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we're all on the same side of the fence here. We're all trying to do the right thing. But, so I would suggest maybe using a little bit different of the Queen's English when addressing us would be a very appropriate thing. And it's not a moot point that I make that. I'm not trying to be funny. It's that investigation implies maybe or reckless accusations could affect our credit rating, which could then ripple back through to much higher rates that we would pay, all of us as individuals, and would greatly outweigh any paltry savings from some surplus material that we happen to get rid of. So that's a key concern in my mind, is that we're being incredibly suboptimal in terms of chasing this when we're all trying to do the right thing and we're missing the most strategic thing of all. So I'm very, very concerned about that in terms of, quote, an investigation, which I think is exactly the wrong word to use. The other comment I'd like to make is that, and I was very surprised, and I'll quote it because I don't want to get it wrong. Selectman Marcy West stated that quote, the RMLD has too much autonomy, unquote. We're, as commissioners, I think we're extremely surprised by that because Marcy sat with us about a year ago. And we all know Chapter 164, which mandates that we are independent and we have autonomy for very specific reasons, and it's state mandated that we have that for many of the reasons we just talked about here tonight. And so to express the surprise that we have too much autonomy, I don't understand it, and I don't think it's up to the Reading Board of Selectmen to judge our autonomy. It's not in their right to do that. They would care to read it, we'll send them over copies of it from the state, and I think that would be fine. But at the end of the day, I agree with the other commissioners. We're all on the same side of the fence. We've got a lot of things we're trying to do, much better things to work on. I know Colleen O'Brien, for example, has been working with on not just the town of Reading, but we've asked her to work with the other communities that we serve as well. On the economic development committees to try and bring new businesses to our area, trying to leverage the fact that we've got low electricity rates to increase employment and tax revenue. And that's what we think ought to be the focus, not this thing about that we've already corrected in terms of surplus equipment. So you can tell we're a little surprised and upset perhaps about how this transpired. And we don't understand it because we've been trying to be extremely cooperative.
So I'd like to just,
Okay.
if I may, Dave,
Sure.
As a final comment, I've been on commissioner for about 5 months, and my biggest concern going forward here is I've had the opportunity to work with Colleen. I think the town and RMLD is very fortunate to have what I consider to be a highly professional general manager, and not perfect, but anyone that's perfect, can leave the room now. leave town meeting in a few weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been really impressed in a short period of time with what she's done in terms of revamping her organization, labor relations, employee development, focus on the future, growth, environmental initiatives, and just to me, a real strong desire to grow the business where it can be grown and to operate very cost effectively. That being said, I think I speak for all the commissioners. I think and I just caution everyone because those kinds of general managers don't come around every time. They don't in my business, and I'm pretty sure in all of our businesses. So we need to be careful in terms of how we manage this singular issue, that it doesn't drive someone away from what I think is a great opportunity for all of us. And I'd close by saying, I think, to me, the keynote is collaboration. We've expressed our disappointment, but we're committed to collaborate with the town and to work together to make this an effective and efficient operation for RMLD, for the benefit of Reading, but also the other communities that we serve.
Thanks, Tom. So you're the only person who's shown up. So you
Yeah,
get
I'm sorry.
the full-
I'm afraid.
you
Yes,
get
I'm
the
afraid
full,
that's the way it works.
You knew this was going to happen.
I really, what's that?
You get both barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you've moved forward and made some changes, which I think everyone's glad to see that. As far as what's going on behind the scenes, I don't know. I can't answer for the selectmen. I've been a member of the finance committee for 6 months. I know a little bit about your business, but very little.
Sure.
As I said, I've known a little bit about the situation from the town manager and what I've read in the newspapers, so I really can't comment other than that.
That's fine.
That's
So
really,
I'd like to.
that's all I know.
That's fine. I'd like to I'm basically familiar with what FinCom's role, but FinCom's an independent body, right? You're impaneled by the selectmen.
Yep.
Right? But then after that, you have free reign to do what you think needs to be done as a committee to investigate town finances, including RMLD finances.
Right.
But you're independent, am I correct?
That's according to the bylaws, yes.
Okay, so you're independent. So, and you already have the power to come in and say, hey, I want to look at the RMLD's payroll or whatever it might be. So I guess what I wonder then is, why would the selectmen put a town meeting warrant article sort of telling you what to do if you're supposed to be independent? What's that about?
The bylaws were amended. You know, will be potentially amended depending on how town meeting votes, but that's part of it. If you, Article 14 and 15, there's two articles there.
Okay. To give the.
To give us greater powers and then to ask for an
Sure, but my understanding, and we do have a eminent lawyer in the room, is it your understanding, Chris, that FinComs are they already independent and empowered to do such investigations or looks at records as they may deem fit?
He should probably take the,
Yeah,
Did
take
you
the
mind,
mic.
Craig,
Take the
if I
mic.
just ask him that
Yeah,
question,
sure.
then please,
We're all
if you can
set.
come
Come
back.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
sure.
kind of move over for a minute.
Well, before you step down, let me just ask you one thing. Is there
Yeah.
something that you know you want from RMLD at this
No,
point?
not this point.
Is there a
no.
reason that FinCom by itself has seen fit that you would like to look from RMLD that you know of now?
No, I can't answer
I mean,
that.
do you have a
no idea.
sense that we haven't given everything we
I'm not
that the-
aware of any
that
situations.
Sharon Angstrom asked for? Okay.
Can't answer that
Then
question.
that helps to know that.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And I am the liaison, so that's
Okay.
my new, I'm new to this.
Well,
I'm the new liaison.
Come every month.
make the new person.
Every month, we're glad to
Every
teach
month.
you.
Time is everything.
Sorry.
I want to say too.
Okay,
So
fine.
when you get to it.
So, to that question, does a FinCom already have the ability to look at RMLD records and towns' records without somebody telling them or voting them to do it?
Because the RMLD is a public entity and subject to the public records law, the FinCom, the Selectmen, the Conservation Commission, good-natured citizens have the right to request copies of public records and to investigate or
Sure.
review the records of the RMLD and make reports as they see fit based on those documents.
Okay. Then, so leaving it right there, they already have the ability to come in and look at our records. So I'm just trying to say, what does this article even do that they can't already do?
It's not clear to me.
Okay, not me neither. So then I think it's important that town meeting be told that. That here's an article that doesn't actually do anything that they can't already do. So.
What should we get, Bill, up?
Yeah, we're
Bill,
going to get Bill.
That's all, Chris. That's the only question I
Yeah.
had. Yeah, that was
Bill,
it.
come on up.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'll cede to Bill, and then I would like to speak. I will cede to my good friend, Mr. Brown.
Good evening. If you gentlemen have picked up your warrant for the town meeting, the background in that states that the FinCom does not have any control over you people because it's an advisory to town meeting only. And I will tell you, quite frankly, I will not vote for this article. I might vote for the amendments because I think they make some sense, but I will not vote for this article and based on that. And from what I can read from 164 and having sat in your seat for a year, I don't think the town has any ability to do that. And that's one of the things Mr. Pacino and I went around and around a little bit over the charter change, and that's why some of the wording in the future charter changes reflects that.
Well, thank you. I mean,
Great,
I
thank you.
guess I find a lot of this mysterious. I mean, we had an issue that came up and we fixed it. We want to move on. We have a lot of important things to do.
Bill has another comment.
Sorry, Bill, I didn't know you were.
Yeah, I think you guys have fixed an awful lot, but I think perhaps a letter to the ratepayers and what you've done might
Yep.
help
Yep.
lift that cloud
Exactly.
a little bit.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
Because
Yeah, we need
there's
better.
a lot of rumors, if you will, and I get a lot of them. and I think that they should be cleared up. And again, sitting there for a year, I'm probably responsible for part of the policy too.
We'll mention that in the article.
Okay, when you're ready.
Thank
Okay.
you, Bill.
There is one more issue that I want to bring up at this point. If this goes forward, the department is going to have a cost on this. This is going to be an expense to the department. There's going to be time, there's going to be effort, there's going to be paperwork that's going to have to be assembled. I'm very concerned about that. Because, I mean, I don't know if, not everybody understands the finances of this entity. You have to remember there's rates, and then everything comes off it. The bottom line of this entity is zero. Absolute zero. If we incur additional expenses, we're either going to have to raise the rates to the customers, or we're going to have to take it out of construction funds and potentially lessen the reliability of this department. Those construction funds maintain the lines. Now, I don't think, if you go to industrial customer in Wilmington, and remember, 60% of your load is outside of Reading. I don't know if anybody's actually gone to the industrial customer up in Wilmington and asked them if they think this is a good idea. I kind of doubt it. So I am very concerned about that cost, and I don't want that cost passed on to those ratepayers out there. I think it's very unfair that they're asking to be paid for this if they don't want it. I'm proposing that when it's appropriate, that I'm going to make a motion that any cost the department incurs on this will be deducted from the payment to the town. This commission has the right to do anything we want to do with that payment to the town, that below-the-line payment, and Chris will back me up. And so my motion is going to be, when it's appropriate, that any cost incurred by this department will be deducted from the payment from the town. I do not want to lessen the reliability, and I do not want the customers to pay for this. I think it's very unfair to ask the customers to pay for this, especially where 60% of the customers are outside of Reading. They're not in Reading. So when the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, is, I will make that motion.
To the costs, actually, it's worth just getting out into the public that since this whole matter began, we've had a lot of inquiries from the town, and they've really necessitated us going to Chris and asking him for advice and opinions. There's been a lot of staff hours to pull records, and some of it's necessary. But, Chris, can I just ask how many hours do you think you'll be billing that's relative to questions that have been raised vis-a-vis Article 14 and vis-a-vis selectmen inquiries about our truck question, roughly? Not to put you on the spot. But I just want to give the public a sense of the cost.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if
You're uncomfortable with that?
Don't put them on. Don't put them on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't want to give, I'm just not sure the
Okay.
collective number.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
right.
It could be
It's
big,
going to be
yeah.
thousands of dollars.
Yes, thousands.
Maybe in the 5 figures. So I mean, for a truck's worth a few grand maybe, or a few $100s, we've expended probably a 5-figure sum on legal fees that were necessitated by various inquiries, including this, and staff time, many hours of staff time to handle. I mean, I'm just saying, it's not like it's not valuable, but there's a point beyond which we've fixed this and we have to move on. It just becomes, we're just kind of,
It's really suboptimal.
yeah,
I mean,
and we're
it
just sort of cannibalizing
Let's
each
focus
other
on
here.
the big picture.
And I don't think anybody, I'm a journalist by background, and I think all these people here are good people. I don't get a bad feeling, and I think people are really trying to make things run leaner and better. So, and thank you for coming and taking the full force of this.
We're very sorry.
And I just want to cap my remark. Phil made something I think that was very profound. I think when these issues come up, whether they get presented to us at a FinCom, it's a lot easier for us to work together and resolve problems. I'm a town meeting member. Phil is. It's a process that works, but it's a lot easier and better if the town pays us. They don't pay us, but they ask us to serve, to represent all the citizens, and our job should be to solve problems and not to have to bring them in front of at town meeting to resolve if they can be fixed otherwise.
Dennis, anything you'd like to add to any of this?
No, I'm taking a lot in. I can understand the cost, like Phil's saying.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what that cost is, because obviously, you're saying you take it off the Reading's
Yeah.
payment. I understand that a lot of this has been around the trucks. I think it opened up questions of what else, and I think, like people have said, a lot of rumors happened, so it made people just start questioning things, and I think it just kind of snowballed, and that's what
sure.
got it to where it is now.
That's for sure.
And, having an understanding of what the policy was, where it's going, helps to understand that people are watching it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we might have exhausted that topic.
Let's
or-
move on.
Yeah, why don't we move on here?
Why don't you want the motion?
Let's have a motion. I think that's a
I
good
will,
idea.
I will move that, should town meeting vote to instruct the finance committee that there'll be an investigation, that any cost incurred by the RMLDs, by the Reading Municipal Light Department, to be deducted from the payment to the town of Reading in the current year.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Craig, I ask that you carry that message back to the town, please. I suggest that, so I want the town to know what the stakes are, quite truthfully, up front. Okay? Yep.
Please stick around, though, because actually when we get through all this, there's actually some things about the future and about our future business model that really we could use expertise from FinCom that is quite apart from all of this. So I hope you stay for the next 20 minutes or so. Thank you.
Could stay longer than that, too.
Well, however long it takes. So our next item on the agenda is the report of the policy committee.
Right.
Which just a few moments ago
Yep.
took
Okay.
action.
Okay.
Phil
very
is the
good.
chairman of the
Mr.
policy
Chairman?
committee.
Mr. Chairman? Okay. The policy committee met at 6:30 tonight to, we have a revised policy that has been made part of the agenda tonight. It's out on the website. The policy committee reviewed the policy, the changes. We felt it was good. We approved it. We did make one change in the policy, and that was at the very end.
One additional change.
One additional change, yes. We approved all the other changes, I should say that. The only other change we made in the very last line, where it says the general manager shall make such reports as required by the RMLD Board of Commissioners, we said the general manager shall make such reports monthly to the RMLD Board of Commissioners, so that the RMLD Board of Commissioners are informed each month as to the surplus, in terms of that, as to where we're,
Okay.
so that we're aware of that.
Can you, if there is anybody watching, do you want to just pull it up a level of abstraction and say, what have we actually changed in our policy vis-a-vis the disposal? Maybe just list what are the major changes compared to what it used to be?
You should have told me that in advance. I could have prepared better.
Well, at a high level, we
At a
can,
high level, it's
At a high
using
level.
independent agencies in the
Right.
first place to do the evaluation of any of the surplus.
right?
And including things such as eBay or soliciting bids, Craigslist, eBay, whatever is appropriate out there that we're using today, or not using today, I should say. And with the right to obviously offer it to town managers in the other towns. That is retained, as I recall. And then the disposal will proceed along whatever is the highest bid. But there are many procedures that go along with that, and that's part of the issue that we were discussing, is that it's going to require significant more effort to make sure that whoever is doing the bidding conforms to the right set of constraints, essentially. No employees will be allowed to bid, no commissioners will be allowed to bid, none of our families or extended families will be allowed to bid on any of these. So we're basically trying to make sure that none of that happens ever again.
So it's much better marketing of surplus material to ensure we get a good price, banning employees from bidding, and a number of other steps. We went through a lot of rounds on this and got expert opinion from council, and I think we may have a model for getting the top dollar for the public's property.
Yeah, and one of the other things I want to mention is that there were, anybody who made a comment was listened to and was included as part of the final policy.
Right.
So whatever
And as
comments
far-
were made.
If I may, as far as the trucks are concerned, we waited on the trucks, we've got them back, they're over in the yard, and now that we've approved this, they will go through this process to find out what the true value is, as opposed to the conjecture that's been floating around
Right.
and the rumors about inflated values for rusty old trucks. So hopefully we'll have something to report on that at our next meeting.
And I would hope whoever valuing the trucks actually goes and takes a look at the trucks before they value them.
Correct.
So with
Yeah,
that,
one added point I would say, which is part of this, which I think is very helpful, is there's a categorization of the surplus by whether it's scrap or valued from a certain level of dollars, which I think provides additional guidance and oversight where needed.
we've had a lot of discussion on it. It's been aired in a couple of.
Right.
Go ahead, were you
Okay,
gonna-
well, I'm ready to make a motion whenever you're ready, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
I was just gonna say, I think we're ready for a vote.
Yeah, I'll move that I'll move on the recommendation of the policy, on the board's policy subcommittee, that the RMLD policy number 2, revision 4, surplus materials, be adopted.
With that one additional.
Right, with the one addition, that the policy committee came up
So
with.
moved.
Give it a second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor? And the vote is 4-0.
What is it? Very good.
The policy has been passed. Earlier today, I just want to acknowledge that I did get an email from John Arena suggesting that we should harmonize disposal policies with the town. That may be a good idea, and if there's a need, we can look at, if there's a way to improve this, we will certainly take a look at that and do so. If there's a good idea, we're always going to be open to that.
Yeah, I mean, just as to note on that, I think, based on the circumstances, I think there's a high degree of urgency to get the policy in place so
Absolutely.
that RMLD can.
Right.
Continue to
Part
op-
and part of the
operate.
reason was moving on. There's some materials on site that have, I think, some toxic materials in them that we need to be disposed of. We've administratively frozen disposal for the past several months, and we need to actually get things off the property. So we needed to take action, and we wanted to get this done. So policy 2 has now been passed.
Right.
So where are we now?
Charter review.
Okay.
Your specialty.
My specialty, Mr. Brown's too.
Bob's, yeah.
Mr. Brown's too. And Bill. Okay, you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right, basically where we're at this point, and I'm glad to see Mr. Brown is here too, my good friend. My good right honorable friend, I think, as they say in England. Basically where we are at this point is there's been, what I've given you tonight is you have the original one here that is actually what the present changes that have been made. There is discussion as to further change. The Rubin and Rudman legal opinion on what's in the charter has been shared with the committee. There is concern in the committee that the way the charter is now written conflicts with Section 164, as Rubin and Rudman has written in their opinion. What you have here in front of you, the rewrite that's dated July 29, 2014, was a rewrite made by Mr. Brown. And basically he asked the committee that would it be appropriate to ask the RMLD, to present it to the RMLD board to get their comments on it at this point. Now, the other one that I've given you, the other one that's dated September 11th, 2014, Bill sent to me over the weekend, and I forwarded that to all you also at this point. He had some more rewrites at this point. September 10th. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, the idea is to, there is some sentiment in the Charter Commission, and it's contentious, quite truthfully, that the provisions in the Charter are not appropriate. The adoption, particularly the adoption of 30B, we can't adopt 30B, because if you adopt 30B, then, your purchase power is just going to be killed. I mean, you may have a contract that's only open for an hour, and Jane can speak to that at times. You can't go off and have bids and so forth on that, or you lose that opportunity in terms of that. So, and so this is what you see, the July 29, 2014 is the write-up Mr. Brown had done to try to bring it more back in line with 164 as to what he has done here. So, and I'm looking to, the Charter Committee was supposed to meet last Monday. The chairman failed to post the meeting. And so, I don't know if we're meeting this coming Monday, we are? We are? Okay. We are probably going, at that point, this committee is going to go into overdrive. We're going to meet weekly, because we're trying to get to, it'll be potentially, the charter revisions will be presented at a January 2015 town meeting. We thought about November, but November is the zoning changes are coming in November. And we didn't want to overload town meeting at that point, because they're rewriting all the zoning regulations, the zoning regulations. So it really didn't want to overload it at that point, and so we're probably starting next week, we're probably starting Monday, we're going to overdrive and meet every week. But I need some comments as to where we're going to go, if we think this is appropriate, and to going forth at this point.
Well, I'll give you my comment, if you will. And I think the rewrite is excellent, and I think it's consistent with what we have under Chapter 164, and in deference to that, that's what we should be doing. I mean, that's what the state law is, and it's relatively broad in terms of what we can and can't do, which I think is, again, very appropriate, so that we can be flexible to meet whatever our needs are, as opposed to some of the more focused items that are under the home rule charter that were presented. I prefer certainly the rewrite, and I think it states it very eloquently.
And Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. I really do. I mean, I know Bill wrote the September 10th, but I really do like the July 29th one, because it really, the final paragraph there is to giving reports, I think is very important, that, that we go to the finance, we meet with the finance committee annually, is what we're supposed to, really what I've always thought we should be doing, and we should be giving a report to the November town meeting each year. I mean, those are reports, and then, I've always said that, anybody who wants to come talk to us, come request, and we'll come talk to you. We're not hiding anywhere, And that's been the case in my 28 years of which I've sat on this commission, so. All right.
Any other comments from either one?
So, Colleen isn't here, obviously. Hamid, in her absence, is this text that's labeled rewrite 72914 something, because I asked her for her opinion, and she obviously had to leave in an emergency basis tonight. If you're not sure, then
Gotta be
let's.
in its place. Gotta be in its place. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, Tom brings up an interesting point, just to, the things that have been taken out of here, under the present charter, basically the commission appoints the accountant. And under the charter also, the department has to use the town auditor. Now, both of those, I understand, are in conflict with 164, and in terms of what Mr. Brown has written on the July 29th meeting, those have been taken out. So, I don't know if you want to go to Chris.
Chris?
Yeah.
I don't really have any substantive comments, just a couple of, cleanup points
Right.
when you're putting it into final. But I think that this language artfully addresses the issues that we identified in the memorandum that we provided to you on the last draft.
Mm-hmm.
So you're referring to the rewrite 72914.
Rewrite 72914.
Is it your view, and the best of your ability to represent what Colleen has been advocating, and my colleagues here on the board, that we should vote? Is it the sense of the board that we vote to recommend that this is the language?
You can, yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Are there? What tweaks? What copy editing or tweaks were you going to suggest, or?
The Department of Telecommunications and Energy is now the Department of Public Utilities. The department formerly known as.
So strike of telecommunications and energy, and add of public utilities.
Right, that's fine.
Okay. And what else, Chris?
Anything else?
I'm just
Interesting.
giving it another read. As a legal point, in the third paragraph, typically under General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 56, the manager has the right to approve power contracts. But I know in Reading historically, that has been done a little bit differently and brought to the board for their approval and vote. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention as you're going through this.
Okay, this doesn't make, oh, I see, right, including payroll and approval of all.
So that's no different from how we've been operating, is what you're
Correct.
saying.
That's correct.
Right.
Do we see any need to change
see.
how we've been operating?
I see, because it now says that the commissioners approve all power contracts. It says that here.
Right.
But that's not what we do all the time, right?
Historically, we brought them for your approval.
But when it's
Right.
2 o'clock and you have something you have to buy by 2:15, you don't,
Yeah, we get your pre-approval.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
I see.
And so there's typically a vote for you to authorize the general manager to finalize.
Got it.
to authorize
So
you
that's,
to sign.
that's how we handle that, okay.
Well,
So, would the motion be that we recommend that that this language, as amended with the correcting the DPU, is we're good to go?
I don't think I have the exact words yet, but so if we wanted this to have some flexibility, both in terms of the warrants, but also the contracts, could we say, and has the, in other words, not make it a requirement of approval, but has the ability to, or the right to, so it becomes that's something that they can flex with, so if it is a 2 o'clock issue or whatever, so we have the opportunity to decide if we want to at any point in time, depending on circumstances.
I think we just covered that
I think
circumstance.
what Chris is saying is the law says the general manager has that authority.
Sure.
right.
Historically, the previous general manager would bring them to the board.
Okay.
And so that has been the practice.
Okay.
Well, what if we just said may approve? I guess that's what I'm trying to
Well,
get at is.
Yeah, I mean, you actually, if you look at 3.5 on the original there, if you look at the paragraph that's there where it says, "The Municipal Light Board of Commissioners shall hire the general manager of the Municipal Light Department and set his duties and terms," and just replace this paragraph with that one. And just leave it. I mean, I don't know if we need to actually get into payments of, and approval of contracts, because that's covered by 164.
So,
Yeah,
Point.
yep,
I like that.
yep.
is there a change we need to do?
Yeah, what I would say is that we remove the paragraph. Sorry, Bill, I'm gonna move a paragraph on you. That we move the paragraph that says the Municipal Board of Commissioners shall hire the general manager. That paragraph, and approve, that paragraph is deleted. And then we put in its place, the Municipal Light Board of Commissioners shall hire the general manager of the Municipal Light Department and set his duties in terms of employment, period. Because I think that the signing of the warrant and the approval of power contracts is covered under 164.
Yes.
Right.
Given our current management, could we say her/his?
Well, under the charter, his means her. It's defined as his, yeah.
that's a
There was
good
a lot of
idea.
debate about that.
Well,
Well, all right, if
Yeah.
there's no reason to take it out, I just assume leave it, but is it hair splitting, Chris?
The his or her?
No, the paragraph removal.
I think Phil's solution is the cleanest solution.
And Colleen would say the same thing?
I'm
think-
virtually certain she would.
Okay,
Right, right.
fine, because, I mean, you guys talk about this and or,
Yes, I'm comfortable speaking for Colleen on this.
okay, fine.
yeah, I just think rather than get to,
Right.
these are by way of example, so I think setting the duties and responsibilities is what we should be doing, and then
Okay.
it allows us to make changes if we need to.
Right, and we refer to 164 in the second, 164 in the second paragraph anyway.
Okay, and you're saying 164 does everything that's
What?
in that paragraph?
Correct.
Bill's. I don't know if Bill wants to speak. Does Bill want to speak?
What if 164?
You're
what if-
fine? Okay.
Here's my one caveat. What if the legislature changes 164?
Well, then we have to
Then we
adopt.
readdress it.
I believe the charter covers that anyways.
Yeah.
The charter covers any changes that the state law makes.
it would take quite an act to change 164. Let's put it
Okay.
that way.
I
Craig,
agree.
what do you think? Are you asleep yet?
It would take quite a change. I mean, even when the
Okay.
supposed
just-
deregulation, supposedly they're gonna deregulate. I mean, that really, the changes they made to 164 is just, it really wasn't deregulation, it was more just restructuring in that case.
Dave, is your concern, you'd rather be more specific? 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, why not leave it in there? If it's redundant, okay, but it's in there. Jeannie is
You
shaking
mean
her
leave
head.
both in?
Huh? Yeah. You think we should cut it?
I-
Okay, fine. That seals it. We're gonna cut it. That's all I needed to hear.
All right.
All right, so let's have a motion. All right,
Okay.
you gotta
I'll-
accept it.
Yeah,
What do you
I'll
think?
move that the Board of Commissioners will recommend to the Charter Committee that the 3.5 that's redone in the July 29, 2014 Right memo be recommended to the Charter Commission with the exception that the third paragraph be removed and the present paragraph that's in the charter, that the Municipal Light Commission shall hire the general manager and set his duties in terms of employment be adopted in his place.
Okay, and just to confirm that you're referring to a page that's in our book here in case there's any
Right,
dispute of
right, yes.
what we're talking about. Do we need
Yes.
to further define what we just recommended, or no?
I think we're good.
We're good?
I think I captured it.
Okay, then,
So moved.
Yep. Mhm.
second?
Second?
Second. All right, all in favor? That's 4-0, passes. Hopefully, we don't have to talk about the charter again.
It'll be back. It'll be back. Mhm. It'll be
Uh,
back.
I'm glad you folks stuck around. Where are we now?
And thank you, Bill, for all your.
Yes, thank you,
effort.
Bill.
Thank you.
Great.
The general manager's report.
So the general manager's not here.
Hamid, Hamid is here.
Hamid is playing the general manager.
Sorry.
Tonight.
Good evening. I'm here to provide you the status report on the organizational system reliability studies. I just want to stress the fact that, it's not up for vote until October 2nd. So
Mhm.
you're not voting on this today.
Right.
This is just a status
Listening.
update. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
RMLD's mission is to provide excellent customer service, including competitively priced electricity still amongst the lowest in the state. As a result of diligence in the areas of power supply risk management, system reliability and flexibility, and overall business efficiency. Strategic makers were identified and included in the request for proposals for the said studies. Some of the key scope targets the following areas. One, develop a 20-year long-term system and reliability plan to include a roadmap which identifies and prioritizes system upgrades, timelines, and cost estimates. Two, develop a long-term organizational study that integrates RMLD division qualified staffing levels and skill sets to maximize the efficiency of the utility to meet present and future trends of the electric industry. Three, develop and maintain a fully accurate functional and operational GIS system that can assist in modeling, outage management, projecting load growth and sufficient substation capacity for maximizing system reliability and flexibility. Three, seek opportunities for growth in business revenues, including generation development and or ownership, expansion of the fiber loop networking, etc. Fifth, enhance customer information system to enable customer response for mutual benefits of load management and associated cost savings. Six, maximize system reliability through predictive and preventative maintenance. Seven, support facilitation of economic development and proactively implement marketing strategies to keep rates stable. The organizational study would identify key trends and benchmarks over a 20-year horizon for what RMLD should be delivering to its customers. Recommendations on organizational structure, work processes, staffing level, salary ranges, career development and succession plan, performance appraisal system, and physical space. The resource plan will include staffing requirements, budget, and outside resources, criteria for success, detailed work plan, and any policies and challenges uncovered. The reliability plan addresses all issues as they relate to the system reliability, system loss reduction, adequate substation and feeder capacity, system revenue opportunities including fiber loop assessment, safety and performance optimization. It includes an assessment of the overall system, physical plant, facilities, and engineering, etc. Future trends of the electric industry is key when undertaking the study. Identification, prioritization, and general cost estimates over a 20-year period focusing on improved reliability, quality, and service. The study will consider and address anticipated policy and challenges/barriers that may be encountered. The request for proposal was written to have either one professional firm provide both studies or two firms providing and performing one each with integration. An evaluation team was formed to evaluate the proposals based on the firm's qualifications, including years of experience, staffing, demonstrated studies with proven efficiency improvements, communication and scheduling commitments, ability to meet scope and interviews. The result of evaluation showed two firms highly advantageous, one to perform the organizational study and one to perform the reliability study. A memo for recommendation to award the organizational study to Leidos LLC and the reliability study to Booth and Associates has been provided to the board. A vote to accept the contracts will be on the October 2nd, 2014 agenda. A kickoff meeting from the firms on the board prior to work commencing will be scheduled for November board meeting. And that concludes the status of the report. Any questions?
Thank you. Hamid, yes.
Yes.
Now, here's where we're going to actually discuss some extremely important matters for the future of RMLD. We've been talking about extremely picayune things for the last hour, I have to say. What Hamid just said is extremely exciting, and the things we're going to do in the future are just, could be transformational to what the company is. And this is where I hope FinCom, we need your help here. The high-level story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole model of a distribution grid is under extreme pressure from new technologies, efficiencies that produce declining sales, customers putting in their own generation from photovoltaics and other technologies, even they could be small generators using natural gas. A lot of things are coming in the pipeline in the next decade or 20 years. The time frame, if I'm not mistaken, is 20 years on this study.
That's right.
We want to know what is RMLD in 2034. And I'm saying to you, and I think everybody here would agree, it could be a completely different company because we may not be able to make money just buying electricity from somewhere else and selling it. The transmission costs are going up. This is why when he says generation, it means we need to understand how we can return to our roots and actually generate electricity, that RMLD is installing stuff and generating the power right here. That building used to do 100 years ago.
You use that building over
Yeah, I
there?
mean, that's what that building is next door, if you
That's
don't
where
know.
we're saving it.
Yeah, it's 100 years ago that since we've been generating electricity. So there's that, and then and I submit that photovoltaics is going to be a primary way to do it. The costs are plunging for that. You see them popping up on roofs, and when they do, you got a homeowner spending $15,000 ballpark. About that, the actual cost of the panels might be $3,000 or $4,000, and there's a middleman making all that money. And I think we could be the ones doing that. Jane is wincing over here, but I think there could that there could be a role for the study in really helping us decide what that model is and how we can be doing that. I think about this offline. I think, you know, where could we put it? Is it just on roofs? Is it just on school roofs? Is it just on our roofs? That's expensive. I think about right-of-ways. We got a train right-of-way right behind us, going all the way up and down. That's public property. Could we get access to that right-of-way and have solar panels up and down train lines and highways in our district? I'm making all this up. I don't know. But there's opportunities out there to think out of the box, engineer a system where we can have generation here cheaply, at scale, locally, and it's good for all kinds of reasons. So I'm blathering on here.
Well, I think that one, it's good blather, so it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. But I think the real issue is, we contribute a lot of money both to our surrounding communities as well as to the town of Reading. And if power is not being used as much because of the efficiencies or people are doing it themselves, we need to find a way or a mechanism to substitute
Right.
for that and keep the revenue flowing to everyone, and/or
That's the high level, yeah.
at the
Right.
high level. And yes, we're talking about something maybe 10 years away, but quite honestly, what you're talking about is happening today. I mean, people, I guess solicitations you probably all do, of the people want to put the solar panels on your house for free, give you the electricity for free, and then indeed they get the money from whatever the contracts are with the local utilities. That doesn't help us.
Right.
That doesn't help us.
I mean, it's
as
good.
an-
It's good for society, but it's bad for our business model unless
Correct.
we get into that somehow.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then there's all the other things Hamid was talking about. Involves making the system smarter, which means you can control the peak load, which we have no control over now. We lose money in the middle of the day. This is now putting in intelligence into the grid to be able to manage that peak load, maybe store electricity, maybe shut some things off remotely thanks to communications. These are really important, and it's very exciting that we're doing. We've got great engineers on staff. Colleen is a great engineer. She has got a mind of a steel trap when it comes to, you can just see the mind working there when it's engineering. It's the same with Hamid. It's really exciting to talk to them. And the third one, the amazing one to me, we have a 30-mile fiber optic loop. Is that about it? Running through the 4 towns. Sitting there, we do almost nothing with it. This could be a potential business generating revenue, selling data to targeted businesses, to town offices, to schools. That I'm going to really be annoying and push for this study to find out what that business model is for RMLD. We're going to pay these people a lot of money. How can we provision, what is the town spending? Do you know what the town spends now on data, for example? Not that you would, but there's going to be a big number that the town and the schools probably give to Comcast or Verizon for data internet. And meanwhile, RMLD's own fiber loop's going 100 yards away from town hall. I mean, it's like, so we can put these pieces together, and that's what the FinCom and the RMLD should be excited about this, and let's figure this out. You got great business minds and finance minds on FinCom.
Some great ideas, and there was a financial forum last week, and I think there's a few other ones coming up in the future.
It really would be. Yes, absolutely. And if these consultants who know this stuff from a different direction come in and meet with the FinCom, and you guys are working together, maybe there's a meeting where you think, gee, how could we work this business model out? Where does that fiber spur need to go so that we hit that office building and we have a revenue source from that office building or that hospital or whatever it might be, and really get these ideas cooking into practical, implementable, incremental ways to do this and monetize.
And those ideas, I assume you would also mean to apply to all the towns in the district.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course it
absolutely.
would.
Yep.
They're all spending
just Reading.
a lot of money on data, and if we have a loop going within a certain distance, it's going to be sensible to just see what that would cost. What would it cost to do that at that, what's it called, a drop, right? I should be letting Hamid talk. So anyway, these are just some things. These are the 2 areas in particular that I hope we can really push on. And some of this other things like what should the salaries be, no offense, but it seems like less important than what are the business models and the engineering required to support those business models.
Mr. Chairman, I've done quite a few of these studies. I think the bottom line would be that, it's going to provide, it's going to bring cost-saving measures, and it's going to provide a roadmap for the utility to save customers money.
Yes.
Because once you have the roadmap and you have a plan,
Yep.
it's going to eliminate redundancies
Yep.
and expenditures in the areas that you don't need to, and it's going to bring the focus and attention back on spending in the areas that you need to.
Yes.
So it's going to be, all in all, it's going to be great for all 4 communities. And I'm really looking forward to doing this study with the consultants. And I strongly recommend that, at the time when the recommendations, they come out for all 4 communities to, we're going to have a presentation that everybody participates and listen to all the good recommendations. Because the future of this industry is, the electrical industry is changing.
Yep.
I mean, we're going to have to go toward, cost-saving measures like demand-side management
Right.
and distributed generation
Yep.
and also energy efficiency. And that's all we can do, because the price of gas is not going down, it's going up.
Yep.
I mean, you're gonna be paying more money for the gas.
And there's
it's
more and
gonna
more
cost
incentive
us
for people
more.
to-
So the rates, either they're gonna go up, if
Right.
the cost could go up, because it's gonna be passed on to the customer. The only way you can reduce that would be by energy efficiency
Exactly.
measures, which is gonna be the result of this.
Yep.
Step.
Were you trying to say something, Tom?
No, I think it's great. It's reinventing the business model.
It is, and it's
which every
exciting
company has to
times,
do.
and that's one reason why I want us to be able to clear the decks and be able to focus on this, and have the minds of this organization focusing on these things. They're very exciting. Can I just ask you to address briefly, Hamid, the transformer upgrades? And I'm going to summarize it. You tell me where I get it wrong. We had old, somewhat inefficient transformers throughout the system, many of them allowed to stay in service beyond their service life.
Yes.
They're less efficient than new ones, and sometimes they fail, and when they fail, it triggers, like, sometimes the oil leaks out, and it triggers. Tell me what some of the costs have been, if you know, for cleanups.
Up to now, from what we've received, we spent close to $45,000.
On,
And I anticipate the cost to go up to close to probably 100, 150.
for cleaning up spilled
Cleanup,
oil.
right. And we have a transfer, we've implemented the transformer inspection program.
Right.
For the pad mount transformers and also overhead transformers.
Right.
We got approximately 3,300 transformers system-wide.
Right.
Approximately 30% of that, about 1,000 or so.
And they should have been
They
done
are-
a long time ago. Or-
Yes, they should have been, but we are where we are. We
Yeah.
are going to, correct it.
Right.
We have appropriate maintenance plans, the proactive maintenance plans in place. We got 7 plans, actually.
Right.
One of them is transformer
Yeah.
inspection and replacement. Anything over 20 years old, which we got about 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
And, we, up to now, we've had, for the past 6 months or so, we've almost replaced, I want to say, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And the
A
number
lot to
keeps
go.
going up.
Yep.
And it's going to be, we're going to replace them all eventually.
So I just want to, the reason I'm bringing this up is anybody who's watching, and for our guests from FinCom, thank you again for coming, is just to understand that when we have good engineers running the department, as we do, top flight engineers, because we let some of these things go in the past, you have transformers that are allowed to be up there a little too long until they fail. You then trigger, as Hamid just said, $100,000 in oil cleanups, sometimes with PCBs in the oil. Then it's a disaster. When you're ahead of the game, as we now are, you're not going to have these problems. Plus, each one gets replaced. It's 5% more efficient. It goes from 95 to 99.
Right.
That's 5% less electricity that you've had to buy to serve that piece of the grid. So these things are kind of in the weeds as far as, does the public understand what this is? Or, I don't until I hear it. And I'm like, okay, I get why we have good people running, RMLD. I get how we're saving money, and we're saving on toxic oil cleanups that we don't have to do. So these are the kinds of things that are happening all throughout the organization now with the new management that we have. And while they're looking at those big picture things, that's kind of what they've been focusing on, and a lot of things like that. And we'll be happy to explain that to FinCom when you launch your investigation. I'm just kidding. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
That's in quotation fingers.
yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of things like that happening. So anyway,
It's good stuff.
yeah. All right, I'm again talking
think
too
we're-
much. As
we're
my
ready to
Dennis,
move on.
am I talking too much? You can tell
Very
me.
interesting.
All right.
Just one
Jane,
item-
am I talking too much? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Bill's
Okay.
Bill's like, yep.
We gotta move on.
Just one item in a public comment. I don't know if we actually will see Mr. Solly again. I know that he didn't want stuff when he left the board, was his
Right.
words. And I would just personally like to, and I'm sure maybe the commissioners like to thank him for his service. Mr. Solly and I butted heads many times, but I must say that Mr. Solly was always his own man, and, was informed, and, even though I disagreed with him many times, he was informed and did bring good things to the board, and I just want to
did.
thank him for his services. He's out there watching, wherever he may be.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
And that little time I spent with him, he always had the ratepayers' interest in mind.
Right,
So
exactly.
That's,
Particularly senior citizens and people who with of
That's
modest
correct.
means. He was very
Right.
much in thinking about them. Okay. Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
I guess we are.
note the
Do we
next
need to go,
meetings.
do we need to go into executive session?
We are going to go into ecutive session. Yes.
Session from here.
Gene, do we have to announce the next two?
Bill?
We have him to comment?
I'd like to thank the board for your backing of the article. And I was down from Hyannis a couple of weeks ago, and the Hyannis Airport, one side is all lined with solar panels.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean,
That property goes, that Hyannis goes back a long ways, too. There are solar panels back in the woodsy area, too, that you can't see from the street.
I'll be making a copy for the, charter review committee.
so ordered.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll get that together.
Um,
Okay. Are we gonna discuss mediation and union negotiations update, or is that?
No, that's
No,
not.
okay, so let me-
Let's adjourn and move into executive
Yeah.
session then.
Well, we have to state what it is for, and if we're gonna, it says in the motion to discuss mediation
We can-
and union negotiations.
You can give brief update.
Okay.
So we're gonna,
Move that the board go in executive session to discuss mediation and union negotiation update, to discuss the deployment of security devices and strategy with respect thereto, and to return to regular session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? And we
Mr.
stand
Seymour, aye.
adjourned.